Oh man, look at those nerfs. Friendship with Holy Paladin has ended. Welcome my new best friend, the Mistweaver Overlords, the true melee healers in Shadowlands. Your time has finally come to rise. Okay guys, take it easy. The sky has not fallen. There has been a lot of changes to Holy Paladin. The long-awaited changes for Holy Paladins that everyone will wait. It's my birthday and I have to do a video because it's so juicy. Let's go and start with this because it's... Guys, look at this. So first of all, there has been an interview. There has been a dev interview yesterday where Sloot was interviewing Morgan Day. And there was hints of Holy Paladin changes. There were hints of Mistweaver changes. And it just came out today. So first of all, let's read it. Flashlight healing is increased by 20%. There is going to be a distinct thought process here for Holy Paladins. They want you to use your Infusion of Light procs. They want you to use Flashlight. They want you to use Holy Light. And that is fine. You know why it's fine? Because it's really weird that you had a spec that had Infusion of Light and you would completely ignore all of that mechanics. But it also led to a more interesting playstyle. I'm going to talk about it. Flashlight healing increased by 20%. Infusion of Light consumed by Holy Light now causes Holy Light to generate Holy Power. So instead of... So if you get Infusion of Light by getting Holy Shock crit, and if you cast Holy Light, you would get this like... this really long but juicy heal. Now instead you're going to get this really long heal that is also going to generate Holy Power. Nerfs. Damage of all abilities reduced by 8%. I think anyone who didn't expect any nerfs to Holy Paladin damage probably was living under some kind of a rock or in a cave all by themselves. In this like, hey, we're fine, you don't need to... I think a lot of people were expecting this. I think a lot of people were expecting some sort of damage reduction. I mean, personally, I kind of hope that every other healer would get buffs in terms of their damage. And, but again, it's easier to nerf one class than buff all the other ones. At least I think that's the Blizzard mentality. Ashen Hollow, Venthyr ability damage reduced by additional 10%. So, this is 10 plus 8. I've tested this on the PTR. Ashen Hollow is reduced by 18%. Hammer of Wrath damage reduced by 18% in total. Judgment damage reduced by 18% in total. Because all of the abilities were reduced by 8, and then on top of those abilities, you have these underlying abilities that were probably causes of a lot of issues: Ashen Hollow, Hammer of Wrath, and Judgment. So this is 18% damage overall to these. If you look at Venthyr, Holy Paladin with everything, we're looking at a 15% damage nerf to overall. Why 15%? Because you have to remember, Ashen Hollow, Holy Paladin doesn't only use these three abilities, and other abilities were only nerfed by 8%. So we're looking at 15% DPS loss or something along those lines. So, Crusade, these are the weird changes now. Crusade Strike mana cost increased to 11%, was 9%. This is something that was kind of... in the BFA pre-patch was kind of a thing where you had Crusader Strike and you would run out of mana type of deal, and we had to test it out as well. And Crusader Smite talent reduces the cooldown of Holy Shock by 1 second instead of 1.5. And this is probably the weirdest one. These two are probably the weirdest changes, or the Crusader Smite one is probably the weirdest change, because this has chances of causing more issues. And then fix an issue that increases damage of Hallowed Discernment, Venthyr Conduit for Holy Paladin. Let's go have a look at how these changes might impact Holy Paladin in Shadowlands 9.1. Now, I am on my Holy Paladin right now, and this is the beta, and this is the 9.1. My Ashen Hollow has been nerfed around 18%, my Judgment nerfed by around 18%. Holy Shock, again, like I mentioned, was not nerfed. It was nerfed by 8%, but it wasn't nerfed by 18%. So, generally speaking, there's a couple abilities that you're gonna feel less damage. Now, 18% nerf to Venthyr, or the general consensus was that Venthyr Paladins are going to do around 15% less damage overall. That's not that big. The sky is not falling on this. 15% nerf, overall nerf, to a Venthyr Holy Paladin who was doing substantially more damage is really not that big. A lot of people might say that it's too little. A lot of people would say that it's too little, and Venthyr Holy Paladin is still going to be the top DPS. Character is still going to be insanely powerful. Paladin is still looking really strong for every content. And I probably wouldn't disagree with that, to be completely honest. I still think the damage nerfs to Holy Paladin, especially Venthyr, are not that bad. keep in mind, anything can change. Blizzard can go next week and say, oh hey, we're nerfing it by 40% instead. So, you don't know what's gonna happen yet. We have to look, this video is not gonna focus on numbers that much. A lot of it is going to be field crafting. I'm trying to get the idea of where is Blizzard going with this, because that's the main thing. If Blizzard's first iteration of Holy Paladin is not going to be good enough in terms of their standards, they're going to nerf them more or change them more in the direction that they want to go. But what is that direction? That is the question. Where are we going with Holy Paladin? So it is very, very, very clear that they want you to use your Flash of Lights and Holy Lights. They want you to do it. And it kind of makes sense because you have to remember that Holy Paladin, Infusion of Light, you have this whole mechanic, Infusion of Light, and if you Holy Shock crits, didn't crit there, it would have made a really nice thing, but if you Holy Shock crits, your next, okay, one more time guys, if you Holy Shock crits, there we go, your Flashlight and Holy Light are going to feel better. Look what happens if I have Beacon, by the way, just for the testing purposes, if I have Beacon on a target and if I use Holy Light, it's gonna give me 2 Holy Powers. So that's the new change, kind of like, you know, your Holy Light with Infusion of Light is gonna give you Holy Power, but if you use it on a person that has Beacon, it's gonna give you additional Holy Power. You can see that Blizzard is trying to bring back that mentality. But now there's going to be a lot of people who will hate this, because you have to look at the current playstyle of Holy Paladin. It is an instant cast god. If you look at logs or dungeons or Mythic Plus or raids, you probably casted Holy Light or Flashlight 5. Like, you can count on your hand how many times you casted that ability. Most of your abilities is like Holy Shock, Crusader Strikes, Light of Dawn in raids, or World of Glory in Mythic Plus. And you're basically not doing any long casts. And there's so many people that have fallen in love with this playstyle. They've fallen in love with this instant cast machine, can move around, can like, it's just a different kind of playstyle. And now Blizzard is trying, I think rightfully so, trying to make sure that Infusion of Light is going to be worth it. Because they feel in their eyes, you have a class that 50% of the toolkit is not being used. But I would argue that, do you even need that 50% of the toolkit to make it an interesting spec? Like, would it be the worst case situation if you removed Holy Light or Flashlight completely? Did it really add a lot to the spec that is already, in my eyes, extremely fun? Let me know. What could be the next playstyle later on? I think the intention is clear. They want you to use your Holy Light, they want you to use Flashlight. Now the Holy Light change, where you get your Holy Shock crit, and your Holy Light is going to generate, I'm going to use my Holy Power here. So if I use my, I'm going to remove Beacon, if I use my Holy Light, it's going to give me Holy Power. I think this change was purely aimed at the fact that initially during the beta, a lot of people were talking about the fact that, hey, Holy Light is going to be part of your rotation or whatever because of certain tuning. But the biggest problem with Holy Light is so long. It's such a long cast time. The cast time does not get reduced at all. And all of a sudden, if you cast it during a raid situation on somebody, there is a high chance that that person is already top. So this change, in my eyes, is Blizzard is trying to make sure that even if you do cast Holy Light, it is a long cast time, it might overheal, but even if it overheals, you're getting that juicy Holy Power that can later on be used to use in terms of Light of Dawn or World of Glory. Now Light of Dawn in raids, World of Glory in Mythic Plus. So you can see that Blizzard is trying to make it a foolproof way of you needing or wanting to cast Holy Light in raids or whatever. So that's one thing. Now Flashlight, I'm not sure where Flashlight is going to come in, because I generally feel that the Flash of Light, Infusion of Light change from the very beginning was just really weird. Reduces the cost of your next Flash of Light. I never really liked that, but now it might be more important with Crusader Strike mana increase. So I'm not sure what Flashlight is going to fit in terms of the gameplay. We'll have to see. I think there's going to be a lot of people testing it and finding out the new playstyles. The talents are the big juicy changes, because Crusader Smite has been nerfed from reducing the Holy Shock cooldown by 1.5 seconds to 1 second. Now this row is relatively competitive, so all of a sudden you might see something like, again, this is me thinking out loud, field crafting type of deal, but don't take it as like, okay, this is going to be the best build or whatever. But you might see Bestowed Fate making a comeback, and this is going to be very similar to what the beta Shadowlands felt like. At the end of the day, I genuinely believe that even with these changes, you could just go your normal build, you could just play exactly like you played before. Okay, your damage is going to be like 15% lower as a Venthyr, okay, your mana is going to be increased because of the Crusader Strike mana increase, and you're probably gonna get a bit less Holy Shocks because of Crusader Smite nerf. But you could still play the exact same build. Your healing is still going to be fine. You still are going to be a really good part of the, you know, healing core, both in raids and Mythic Plus. So technically, in my eyes, you could still play the exact same build, play in very similar way, and you still could achieve really good results. I don't think Holy Paladin is gonna go away from being the top 3 healers or whatever. I think Holy Paladin is still going to be in there. But here, I'm thinking out loud of what Blizzard is trying to achieve, or where is Blizzard going with these changes. So just hear me out. Just hear me out in terms of what could possibly happen or where Blizzard might be going with this. So at the start of Shadowlands, they had a very weird, or there was a very different builds emerging because of how Blizzard was tuning. And I actually believe that the initial Shadowlands idea for Holy Paladin was where Blizzard wanted to go, but they didn't get the tuning right. So, for example, you're going to be a melee healer no matter what, because you're regarded as melee by the game. You get melee abilities happening. So in raid situations or mythical situations, a boss might have some specific melee abilities, and if you stay in range, you might screw everything up. It's the same way that the Mistweaver was regarded melee as well. So you will be staying in melee. But now because of the Crusader Strike mana cost reduction, now because you might be going with something like Bestowed Fate, possibly, you might not be using Crusader Strike all that much. And Crusader Strike is not going to be reducing the Holy Shock. Staying in melee, let's assume this is a boss or something. You're staying in melee, you're helping out with the DPS, you're using a Judgment, because again, Judgment of Light talent is still looking pretty strong. You might be using Bestowed Fate to generate Holy Power. You might be using Holy Shock offensively, defensively, depending on what you want. And you might be using Crusader Strike. But maybe you're going to be taking easy with Crusader Strike because of mana constraints. And if you see Infusion of Light procs, you might make use of those Infusion of Light procs. So now you're kind of like an in-between healer, which at the start of beta was looking to be the playstyle. Like, you don't have a clear kind of idea. Are you going to be all melee? Are you going to be ranged? Like, it's kind of muddled up together. For example, you even had a build where you'd still run Crusader Smite, and you would stay in melee, and you would not use Crusader Strike that much because of the mana constraints. You would be like, I'm waiting for damage to happen, and then I'm gonna be Crusader Strike, Holy Shock. I'm using all of my generating Holy Power, Light of Dawn if I'm gonna hit 4+ members and things like that. And you would have these burst windows when you would use a Crusader Strike because the mana was a really big issue. But after the damage is over, you go back to this kind of like, okay, I'm not really using Crusader Strike. I'm just gonna, do my passive DPS. I'm gonna use my Infusion of Light procs. I'm gonna use my Holy Light that is like, not immediate healing needed and things like that. So you might be this like 50% melee, 50% range type of healer. Again, this is all kind of just thinking about what Blizzard wants. Because at the moment, I feel there is no clear direction of where Holy Paladin is heading. Because I do feel you can still, and I mentioned this at the start of the video, and I mentioned this strat, you can still play the exact same playstyle, in my opinion, and still have really good results. So you don't have to think that the sky is falling. But at the same time, I think that Blizzard wants Holy Paladin to be a bit more in-between healer, where you can see it from the changes. Crusaders, they don't want you, or at least they want you to make a really dedicated choice if you're going to use Crusader Strike. And they want you to make a really dedicated choice if you're going to use Crusader Strike to increase your healing. And if you decide to do that, that's fine. Go for it. But if you don't, if you try to go other directions, you can still do fine. I think that's what Blizzard is trying to go with these changes. And honestly, it can be very scary. Again, I rambled on a bit too much. This is a really juicy video. A lot of it is field crafting. Don't take this as like, hey, this is definitely going to be like this. This is me thinking out loud. There's still people deciding whether flashlight is going to be a thing. Are we going to use flashlight? Can we still use this? Like, in my opinion, you can still go with the same build. I think the damage nerfs, honestly, they're not that big. 15% across the board is not that huge. If you think about the true power of Holy Paladin, I think Holy Paladins are going to be more than fine in terms of tuning. I'm just a little bit worried about the direction where Holy Paladin is going. It's clear to see that Blizzard wants you to use your Infusion of Light. And in my opinion, I kind of like the playstyle where you didn't. And this is how I feel about this. I really like that instant cast healer that could do really good healing. And I don't really care about the damage, I don't really care about the numbers. The playstyle of Holy Paladin with those instant cast heals felt really good. And if there's a possibility of that disappearing, I'm not sure how I feel about this. Let me know, guys. How do you feel about this Holy Paladin changes? And before I'm gonna finish the video, I do want to talk about other healer changes, and there's a few very little ones. So we talked about Holy Paladin. There has been some changes to Holy Priest, and Symbol of Hope has been redesigned. Now it bolsters the morale of party of raid members within 40 yards. They recover each 60 seconds of the cooldown on major defensive, which is fine, that's exactly what it was, and they regain 18% of their missing mana instead of 12. And during the interview with Morgan, he basically specified that they basically said that they want Holy Priest to be this utility healer that provides things that, oh hey, if we have a Holy Priest, we're gonna be able to do things that we can't do with other healers. And that was actually a thing. So I think they might even push further with Holy Priest being a more utility healer and providing more different niche abilities. And he also mentioned there's going to be numerical changes to Mistweavers. No class redesign, no new talents, no new nothing, but just numerical changes to Mistweaver Monks. And I was kind of disappointed about that because I honestly felt that the Mistweaver Monk, if you look at the PvP changes, I was kind of hoping something similar happening to Mistweaver Monks in PvE in terms of maybe new talents, new abilities, but instead they were talking about numerical changes, so maybe a bit more healing. I'm expecting damage. I'm honestly calling it. Mistweaver DPS is going to be increased, possibly. But we're going to see that in the next couple of days, maybe next week, in terms of what they want. But expect big redesign for Holy Paladin happening right now. Holy Priest possibly going into a more utility-based healer. That's probably going to happen. I don't know. We'll see. And Mistweaver is definitely going to get some, at least numerical buffs. Possibly damage increasing buffs, if I'm gonna call it, and we'll see if that's gonna happen in the next week or so. Guys, let me know how you feel about these changes. It is a discussion video after all. It's my birthday, and I had to make this video, guys. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. It helps me to continue doing these videos, and I'll see you in my next guide.